So I'm gonna make a wooden surfboard with my dad. It's his cabinet shop.
My dad is a master woodworker and I really wanted to make a wooden surfboard with him. So we dreamt up this 4-stringer redwood surfboard and started building it. We started with 6 4x4s of redwood and built a rocker template to put rocker into them. And then once we had the rocker set, started building the outline for the board. I don't know how common this is, but it's kind of fun to build twin fin fishtail with twin fin fins. And then once we cut the outline of the board, we started gluing it together and clamped it tight. And I've held some, heavier boards, like maybe 10, 15 pounds, but this one was actually closer to like 50.
That was heavy. Not really sure why, but I'm pretty nervous to plane this. I haven't done wood before, and I guess there's little things like this that I'm like afraid I'm just gonna BAM! And it's just gonna cause problems. I got so excited to do the rails, which ended up coming out pretty good, but I forgot I still need to do like the rocker. I gotta do the outline. So I'm gonna pause on this for a second.
You can see here the wood is pretty wet where the grain is kind of like darker, and it ended up clogging up my vacuum and I had to pull it off. And for whatever reason, all the wood flying everywhere kind of reminded me of when you would pop a grunt in the head and confetti would fly everywhere in Halo.
You can see here, this is all moisture and they're just too moist. The glue isn't sticking. It's really frustrating.
Not a good thing to show them. This is a 4x4 redwood post that hasn't been kiln dried. And so it had moisture in it. And when we went to glue it up, the glue failed because of the moisture. So we're gonna let it dry a little bit.
So we let it dry for like 24 hours and then glued it back up, and then I got back to shaping it. And then once we got like a pretty general, like pretty close shape, like rough outline, we started breaking it apart to start chambering it. And the secret here is to just do little teeny dots of glue, because if you do too big, it'll rip the surface. So then it's time to start marking off where we're gonna make our chambers. And this process was a huge pain in the ass. I probably will never do this type of board again unless someone paid me like a few $1,000s. Like, the amount of holes that we had to make and the amount of time that it took was totally absurd.
So one thing that was kind of tricky about channeling these, what we were finding was we would drill in the middle here, but then on this side, it would get a little bit thin. It wasn't like centered on this side. So what we ended up doing was drill halfway through the center on this side, which is closer to the middle. And then on this side, same bit, just recenter it and drill halfway through on this side so that you weren't getting too close to this deck. And you can see up there, like there's some holes that get a little too thin. on the deck side.
And we ended up with a couple thin spots that we needed to reinforce.
This isn't good to show.
And then my dad had this idea to make some unique stringers that kind of bend out at the tail. So we had to rinse and repeat, cut it, glue it, and clamp it all over. And gluing together 3 separate parts was not easy. It was a total challenge. But in the end, it looked pretty sick and it's pretty unique, so I'd say it's worth it. And then this is probably one of the biggest areas for improvement was in trying to seal the knots that we had. Some were a little more solid, like this one, and then some were a little more hollow and needed to be filled, but in hindsight, I think I would have just used resin to fill them. So this is one of the areas I was like pretty proud of myself. I was like, oh, I'll take one of these future boxes and shave off the flanges because it's not in foam, it's in solid wood. And as long as we glue it, like it should be pretty solid, but jury's out on that still. I'll let you know after I surf it. So after cleaning up the fin boxes, the last thing we did was give it a nice little finish sand with about 150 grit. And then last we finished it with some monocoat oil, which not only looks really nice, but it also smells really good too. So the starting weight of this board was about 50 pounds and the final weight is 18 pounds, which is pretty heavy considering a normal board at this length, which is about 5'8", would probably be closer to like 5 pounds. But it came out looking sick. It's definitely gonna look good on my wall and I'm excited to go try it out and just kind of see how it rides. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you would be so kind as to help me hit my goal, which is get to 1,000 subscribers, hammer that subscribe button. I appreciate it.